Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Rob Bonta, California Attorney General, and I'm here with Jessica Jewell, Deputy Director, California Rural Legal Assistance, Inc. And I also, at the outset here, want to acknowledge and express my profound gratitude to the members of my team who worked on today's announcement, including Jason Terracone, Deputy Attorney General, Tina Charanpong, Supervising Deputy Attorney General, Nick Akers, Senior Assistant Attorney General, Ellie Bloom, Special Assistant Attorney General, Michael Redding, Special Assistant Attorney General, and Chief John Marsh, as well as our Division of Law Enforcement. California's families are facing a housing affordability crisis at levels never seen before. We are facing an eviction crisis. About 1 in 7 renters in California is behind on their rent, potentially facing eviction. This crisis looks like a single mom whose bout with COVID-19 left her unemployed. The crisis is a young professional whose employer again illegally sent their paycheck late. This crisis is an elderly couple on a fixed income, relying on life-saving medication that just doubled in price. Nearly 1.5 million Californians like them report being behind on their rent. And with the state's last remaining eviction moratorium expiring just days ago, the threat of an eviction is here. DOJ's Housing Strike Force has received numerous reports of landlords across California trying to evict tenants illegally. These illegal so-called self-help evictions are an attempt to avoid the courts and illegally kick tenants to the curb without regard to their rights and the law. Self-help evictions take many forms, look like different things. They include landlords without a court order changing the locks, shutting off water or electricity, and removing tenants' personal property in order to force a tenant out of their home. This is illegal. Under California law, the only lawful way to evict a tenant is to file a case in court. That's why today I am issuing new legal guidance to law enforcement across the state, advising them to prevent and respond to unlawful lockouts and self-help evictions. In today's guidance, DOJ emphasizes that called to resolve a dispute between a landlord and tenant, law enforcement should intervene to prevent illegal evictions. The law is clear. The only lawful way to evict a tenant is to go to court and have the court order the sheriff or the marshal to carry out the eviction. Unlawful lockouts and self-help evictions are serious offenses. They can result in significant legal consequences, including both civil and criminal liability. In today's bulletin, which has been shared with every law enforcement agency across the state, we provide the following guidance for landlord-tenant disputes. 1, law enforcement should never help a landlord evict a tenant by force or by threats. 2, only the sheriff or marshal or their deputies may evict a tenant, and only with a court order. Other peace officers should not ask the tenant to leave their home. 3rd, law enforcement should advise the landlord or other persons involved that it is a misdemeanor to force tenants out of a rental property and should instruct them to allow the tenant back into the home. Law enforcement should advise the landlord to seek legal advice if they have an issue with the tenant or to lawfully evict the tenant. And 5, law enforcement should write a report about the incident, even if no arrest is made. Self-help evictions are unlawful, full stop. And today's guidance underscores law enforcement's important role in responding to reports of illegal evictions and their responsibility to intervene. It's also important to recognize that we all have a role here. Please continue to send complaints and tips related to housing, including illegal evictions, to DOJ's Housing Strike Force at housing@doj.ca.gov. To find a free legal aid attorney in your area, you can visit lawhelpca.org. For our part at GOJ, as long as the housing affordability, availability, and equity crisis is here, we're going to keep on pushing forward. Every Californian deserves to have a roof over their head. I'm committed to using all the tools in my office to advance Californians' housing rights. With that, I'd now like to hand it over to Jessica, speak more about California Rural Legal Assistance's extensive work in this space. Jessica?
Yes, thank you so much, Attorney General Bonta. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jessica Jewell, Deputy Director at California Rural Legal Assistance, Inc., also known as CRLA. And CRLA is a nonprofit law firm with 16 field offices across the state. Since 1966, we provided free legal services to low-income residents of California's rural areas with a focus on housing, but also employment, education, income maintenance, and rural health issues. And based on what we see in our work at CRLA, we know that when people stay housed, it improves health, safety, and stability, and not just for the individual and their family, but for the entire community. So it's important that our laws limit landlords' ability to evict tenants. California law requires landlords to go through the unlawful detainer process and obtain a court order before they can evict a tenant. But while the unlawful detainer process provides tenants some protection, the process can also be intimidating and inaccessible, especially for low-income tenants who cannot afford to hire a private attorney when often landlords have strong legal representation. Even before the pandemic, our offices receive numerous inquiries every day from tenants across the state who are unsure of their rights when a landlord violates the law by pursuing a self-help eviction. And temporary protections that were enacted during the pandemic, sometimes with different levels of protection depending on where you live, only added to tenants' uncertainty about their rights. Unfortunately, we see landlords taking advantage of that uncertainty. Our clients, like AG Bonta said, have experienced unlawful lockouts, have come home from work to find their belongings removed from their apartment, have had their utilities shut off, received threats, or have been subjected to other acts of harassment intended to make their living situation unbearable, or otherwise pressure them to leave. We recently had the opportunity to help a client, we'll call her Sarah, who contacted CRLA after being illegally locked out by her landlord, who changed the locks to her home without ever serving a notice on our client and without filing an unlawful detainer. Sarah called the police for help and was erroneously told it was permissible for her landlord to lock her out. And even though she had every right to call a locksmith and get the locks changed back, he feared she could face arrest, or worse, if she tried exercising her rights. Unfortunately, Sarah contacted CRLA and we were able to inform her of her rights and help her regain possession of her home. But today we applaud the Attorney General's office for the action they have taken and the guidance they have issued today. The guidance issued today by the Attorney General's office is an opportunity for law enforcement to protect our communities. A law enforcement officer that's called to a landlord-tenant dispute can play a pivotal role in preventing people from becoming unhoused by clearly stating and upholding the law. The only lawful way to evict a tenant is to file a case in court and obtain a court order. Landlords and their agents operating in the state of California, whether they're renting one unit or thousands, have a responsibility to understand and abide by housing laws in the state and in their municipality. And most importantly, we want tenants to remember you have a right to remain in your home until a court orders you to vacate. Find legal help as soon as you can because the eviction process moves quickly. And if you can't afford to pay a private attorney, there are free legal services in your area. You can find those by visiting lawhelpca.org. And you can also find vital tenants' rights information on our website at crla.org. At CRLA, we regularly offer tenants' rights workshops. We also operate a tenant justice project, and our staff can help tenants understand their rights, complete court documents in an eviction case, including fee waivers, so they don't have the excessive costs of filing in court. And we can help the tenants understand other legal issues that might impact their housing stability. Again, the process can be overwhelming, so you can find all of this information on our website at crla.org. I want to thank Attorney General Bonta for having me here today and for the critical steps he and his office and his team have taken to ensure Californians remain housed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica.